Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 in a best of 3 between Dnestr and Fussel in the semi-finals of Herr's Grand Tournament. Today the map is Odon, and on the allied side Dnestr is going to be using the 15th Infantry Scots, and on the Axis side Fussel is going to be using the Festung Gross-Paris. So this is a very interesting matchup of players, both of them very good and defeated great opponents in the quarterfinals. Dnestr defeated Herr 2-1 and Fussel defeated Kiilstofte in a convincing 2-0. So now they're up against each other, and these divisions are certainly very interesting as well, have a lot of their own sort of unique characteristics. So for the 15th Infantry Scots, for example, they excel with their armour. They have the AVRE early on, although I don't think it's as likely we're going to see it in this map as others because it's a lot more open in a lot of areas. There are the Churchill 5s though, which have the 1200 meter range and can be very good. There's plenty of infantry availability, some really nice AT guns available for the 15th Infantry. And that's something that the Festung will definitely have to play around in the early phases, especially if Fussel decides to use a 2-star Puma. If that gets destroyed by a 6-pounder, that could be a really bad loss for the Festung early on. We've seen throughout some of the games how effective those 2-star Pumas really can be. And it's really nice in this tournament to explore some of the strengths and weaknesses of the Festung, especially when they were in their prime before the bomber nerf to the price, which is the main reason I think a lot of people put down the division and favoured other Axis divisions instead, especially with the introduction of, say, the 1st SS, and a lot of people sort of swung towards the 2nd Panzer as well. But either way, it's going to be the Festung, and they of course have their very strong infantry, the Landeschützen and Bewährungs combo in Phase A. They're going to have Panzerschrecks and all that good stuff as well. So there is going to be a 2-star Puma at the start for Fussel. It's going to be accompanied by a Landeschützen, a Pack 40, 2 Fels Gendarmerie, 3 Bewährungs. Further up we see 1 Bewährungs, the Landeschützen, some command infantry, I'm not entirely sure what they are, and a Panzerschreck of course. Panhard MG on the top side with the Aufklärer. On the other side, it's going to be a bunch of rifles. You've got the 1-star rifles. They're probably going to head into the town, I would presume. You'd want your higher veterancy troops in that town if they were actually going to fight. Followed up by the command carrier with the command infantry. Behind those, you've got 4 units of rifles without the veterancy, so they're more likely to be spread out in sort of non-combat areas just to hold the front line forwards. Then beyond that, there is a universal carrier with recon, a command carrier with command infantry, and there was another universal carrier in there with the recon, but it was removed in favour of a Honey to accompany this Churchill 5. So 2 pieces of armour early on for Dnestr, and on the bottom side a simple universal carrier. But an interesting choice into the Ulster here. Recon aircraft at the start of the game. Going to be coming in and having a good look around. Either way, let's get back into position here and look at where Fussel's units are heading. He does have a few units going to this bottom side. I think the Puma is heading that way as well. He's not planning to contest the bigger town. He's just going to sit short of it. And on the top side, he's just taking a defensive stance here as well. Although it looks like the Ulster will spot these vehicles, and it will show him that there is 2 Kubels, which is unusual, so maybe he can identify there's a Panzerschreck there. And the Panhard MG will of course tell him that there's recon on that top side. We have the rifles heading into the mid here as expected, backed up by that command carrier with the command infantry. There is a potential for a large salient on this bottom side though. Unless the universal carrier, I guess, just stays behind this tree line here, you can see that it wouldn't really be able to be shot at by anything. So that's quite a cheeky move there by Dnestr, because if this Puma decided to be a little bit more aggressive, then that could definitely backfire. But either way, Bewährungs have actually managed to sneak through the tree line here and get into an annoying position in this building, which could be really, really awkward. Panzerschreck is going to reveal itself firing at the Bren group here, and well, that honey's in a bad spot. Oh wow, the Panzerschreck, a 3-star Panzerschreck with 10 accuracy, sorry, missed the honey. You don't get much more lucky than that. Dnestr got away with that so badly. But I basically identified these as rifles when they were actually Bren groups, so interesting to see Dnestr use those. The Puma has been spotted, so has the Pak 40, and now we see an engagement going into this town. Befehlungs have decided to become aggressive and run onto the town, so Fussel deciding to try and contest that early on, especially with the fire support of the Puma, which with 3-star veterancy and its machine gun on target can do a lot of damage. But either way, with the honey surviving, that is going to move upwards and take out the Panhard MG. He can then get some infantry into these buildings and possibly discover the Aufklärer. It really depends if he does actually move into those buildings or not. But a nice sort of salient on the top side here for Dnestr, but with the Panzerjäger 35 coming in, that's going to force the honey to be a lot more cautious. Now in this town the engagement continues, both the Befehlungs and this rifle squad taking a lot of damage in this engagement, but all the while this rifles has used its Bren gun to hit these lander shoots in the open, preventing them from running into the town. And now with those Befehlungs falling back, I'm surprised they didn't die there to those rifles. On the bottom side, the Universal Carrier is going to cover off against a couple of Befehlung squads that are going to try and make a little bit of ground. I think with all of these forces pushing very hard into the top side and the number of them, it kind of gave the game away that Fussel could probably push on this bottom side, and he's definitely starting to. But an interesting engagement was going on down here. The Churchill 5 engaging the Panzerjäger. Panzerjägers can definitely be killed by Churchill 5s due to their open top and also the fact they have relatively low armor. But the honey did go down. It looks like the Panzerjäger managed to get the better of that. Either way, engagements continue. Churchill 5 now coming down to accompany this town. Might also shift down to the bottom side to cover off against these infantry as well. A couple more rifles, or probably Bren group, heading towards the mid. They're going to try and cover the open. Maybe just put one into the field here to kind of suppress that extra ground that Fussel is gaining, because currently it's a 51% territory lead for Fussel. So this must be on the next patch now, because it's not giving a +1. So we'll have to look at the price of those bombers and see if they were nerfed since, and if Fussel just likes to use this division. IG-18 coming up to support though. Very nice indeed. Going to force back the Universal Carrier alongside those scouts. There is a cheeky 6-pounder back here that might be able to kill off the Puma if it's lucky. But with the advance of the infantry ahead of the Puma, it's unlikely that that will be or not be spotted before the Puma gets involved. Either way, Befehlungs once again going to be trying to put a little pressure onto this town. The rifles have engaged the Befehlungs further up, but with the Churchill 5 getting involved, when that gets his main gun on target, that's going to be a pinned Befehlungs, which can then be pushed on upon by some rifles here. That's going to happen, but Fussel is making a lot of ground on this bottom side. Befehlungs still pushing up, Feldgendarmerie trying to keep up as well. IG-18 being pushed aggressively behind the Befehlungs on the bottom side to help keep rifles pinned here. There isn't honey on the way, so 2 AP units here to deal with the Puma, but that's not the problem at the moment. These Befehlungs are a real issue for Dnestr at this moment in time. Now on this top side, I'm not sure how Fussel's going to deal with this Churchill 5. He does have a B2 on the way. Maybe he will just try and tank the shots and then push around aggressively with some infantry accompaniment, so that the Churchill 5 has too many targets and therefore at least one of them should be able to slip through the net. That would be one way to do it, just sort of overwhelm the Churchill. But at the moment, lander shoots in here, they're just in range of the command, so they're not going to be surrendered. These Befehlungs though, they were pushed out of these buildings, and that has given a little bit of ground back to Dnestr. Befehlungs pushing on the bottom side do eventually clean up those rifles. Puma's going to take out the Universal Carrier. And with this honey revealing itself, I'm not sure that Fussel's even going to move his Puma downwards now, which means that the 6-pounder might never get in range. Although actually saying that, it already is in range. So bringing in some command now to accompany the 6-pounder and then taking that shot at the Puma would be really smart. IG-18, oh, that's going to be able to have a chance at shooting this 6-pounder, but you can see the 6-pounder has engaged the Puma. Can the Puma get out of range in time? The IG's still engaging the honey. That could be really bad. Yeah, the Puma goes down. It was only a matter of time. 3 shots there. Fussel needed to get really lucky in order for that 3rd shot to miss. But the IG now has the ability to fire position in the future. But at the moment, just on an attack move, is going to continue to hit the honey. Doesn't want that to get too aggressive in the face of his Beverungs. The IG, the only thing there really holding the ground now. So with this B2 arriving, you can see that the push is on the top side. The Churchill 5 is currently targeting the Landerschutzen. And this is what I was mentioning about overwhelming the Churchill 5, so it doesn't have like enough support on its own to really deal with all of this. And that's what Fussel is just taking full advantage of. Rifle leader can possibly get a Piat shot off here. Whether or not that hits remains to be seen. But we haven't had much luck. Either way, on the bottom side, IG-18 still covering things off. We're now seeing all of these tanks engage the Churchill 5 in hopes of making it fall back, and by doing so, we'll be able to rush it down. And that's probably what he's looking for here. But the Landerschutzen very close to revealing a lot of this infantry, and when that happens, the element of surprise here onto the Panzerjäger may definitely fall away. So I'd like to see this rifle leader use its Piat sooner than later. Driver knocked out onto the Churchill 5. I don't think it showed side armor yet, still backing off. But look at the infantry engagement in the mid now. Fussel definitely wants that town. Beverungs have been forced to fall back here since they are being approached by a Bren group. But this is really, really nice, using sort of multiple fronts to force Dnestr to react, and then like pushing elsewhere and bringing in this many Beverungs to the mid, whilst as you can see Dnestr has reinforced the top side with infantry. It's going to make a huge difference, because now Fussel can get his way into the town. Beverungs work really well in defense because they have like so many numbers, like 15 men in a squad, and that can make all the difference. Pack 40 on this main road has done a nice job so far with its HE rounds, but is under threat from this Churchill 5, as you can see, with Dnestr actually using the fire position command just short of the Pack 40 to try and do some damage and pin that down. Now the Churchill 5 here is showing side armor. That could be really, really bad if one of these Panzerjägers gets on target. But as you can see, looks like this 6-pounder did have to back off as the B2 engaged that with a fire position just short. Or this Panzerjäger's playing with fire. Doesn't want to get too close there. Otherwise that could end very badly indeed. It's still a 1-star 6-pounder at the end of the day, and will do a lot of damage. So Panzerjäger's all focusing the Churchill 5. Meanwhile, 6-pounder kills one of the Panzerjägers. B2 might just kill it in time. Never mind, it missed. Maybe this one can do the job. That missed as well. B2 doesn't even kill it with its HE round. That is not good for Fussel. Either way, gonna have to back off. Beverungs on the bottom side do eventually get chewed up by the honey. AT gun is still alive down there. That could come in handy later on. These Beverungs though still holding the line, and Fussel still holding the +1. So it's not the end of the world. Landerschutzen do get taken out on the top side though, giving these rifles their position back up here. There is going to be an S307 pack on the way, the 2-star version. That could actually be really good at cleaning up both the Churchill 5 and the honey. Because of its high veterancy, it's actually pretty damn likely to hit like a Churchill 5 before a Churchill 5 can pin it down at 1,200 meter range. So that is a very smart choice of unit there from Fussel, and will help him out a lot. You see that there are going to be a recon squad and an infantry squad coming to this top side. He does need to clean out these rifles, because otherwise if a push comes back through on this top side, that rifle squad will sort of take that front line back very quickly, and that could be detrimental to the lead he currently has. Belgian Gendarmerie are going to smoke themselves off in the open. Beverungs trying to make a little bit of ground, but probably just revealing these infantry for the Panzer 35 here to get some shots on. But here we go, into the town. with Dnestr's infantry. The Verlongs are just going to be able to play it very defensively. Our 2-star veterans here as well. And that means they will put up a strong fight against all of this infantry that's coming their way. Rifles there coming under fire as they try and get to cover, but not going to make it. And the other thing to think about is that this Panzer 35 is going to be able to help with this town after this rifles is dead. And you can already see that coming into effect. Look at these Bavarians pin down these rifles very quickly indeed. Pak 40 is even getting some HE shots in there. The S-37 has arrived on the top side. The 251, accompanied by the spear through, will clean out that infantry. But this is the engagement we've got to keep watching. And there's no command here. This is really, really bad. If all of these units get pinned down, well, if the scouts gets pinned down now, and one unit of Bavarians moves forwards, that is a total surrender there, which would be really, really bad. But as you can see, these Bavarians instead are going to be being the ones falling back, and that is not ideal. Now we see the Ju-188 come in. Didn't have time to check the cost of that. But either way, a nice choice to make a lot of this infantry back off. The Feldgendarmerie still holding on this bottom side, allowing these Bavarians to take that much punishment. But these Bavarians, you can actually see they've used up all of their Mosin ammo and their machine gun ammo. IG is still doing work though. Panzer 35 still firing away as well. Honey now coming in for the engagement. Another Panzer 35 is going to try and sneak around the tree line and get a 2v1 going. On the top side, it looks like Dnestr is trying to push up with some rifles, but these ROA are certainly making short work of them. The 14 HE at close range is absolutely ripping them to shreds. These rifles, they are going to now be spotted by the spear through as well, and that's a lot of infantry that Fussel has just cleaned up. We can now see the engagement continuing between the two Panzer 35s and the Honey. The Honey did get a driver wound. It's only going to take a side shot really to get the job done there, but forcing it back for now is also good. Allows the IG-18 to open up onto some of this infantry. You can see Dnestr's attempt at pushing into the town was ultimately thwarted due to that Ju-188, so smart play there from Fussel. We now see a Marder 1 coming in on the main road, and that's going to be a lot harder to deal with for the Churchill 5 than the Pak 40 otherwise was. On this top side, the S-307 Pak trying to sneak up, trying to get in range of this Churchill 5. We'll have to be careful of the 6-pounder and the Honey though. 6-pounder can't really see the whole way through the orchard, so the S-307 Pak is safe for now. But it's going to be a while until Fussel can get some infantry to start closing down upon that. Meanwhile on the bottom, with another 251 coming in with a spear through, it's going to be able to pin down these infantry very nicely with its machine gun. Also firing some support into the town, where the numbers of these Bavarians are still pretty good. See two squads there on 12, one on 11. One's pretty, well, down to the last man. One's on 6. But that's way more than what Dnestr has. And although the 15th Infantry Scots does boast a lot of infantry, I can't help but feel Dnestr hasn't really allocated it well throughout this game. It seems as though, for example, on this bottom side, there's a lot of rifles here that just can't do much. Same going into this town. Having so many come in at the same time is just so damn risky, because if they all get stunned up, especially without command, there's chance for mass surrender, and that's kind of what's now going to happen, as these Bavarians can advance back through the town, take up their defensive positions once again and get the job done. Same deal on the top side. All these rifles are not assisted by command, and that is not ideal, especially when these ROA have pretty much chewed through almost 4 entire squads of rifles. And that command would have not only, helped with their combat effectiveness, but prevented any future surrenders. Now these Gremführer can maybe finish off the job, but here comes a Panzer B2, going to be pushing into the tree line here. That maybe can get a fire position just short of the 6-pounder, depending on how far it moves up. So that might be an interesting play for Fussel to try and make, firing out of the orchard there without the 6-pounder being able to fire back. Honey is going to be engaging the 251. Oh, the B2 is actually just going to be direct engaging the 6-pounder. Going to have to be very lucky not to die here, and it's going to be a driver wounded, which is very, very unlucky for Dnestr. The 2-star AT gun at that range not getting the kill is very harsh on Dnestr. But either way, rifles clean up that Panzergrenadier quite nicely actually. And on the bottom side, a Wolverine has now been brought in. Pack 40 has arrived though for Fussel, and that could definitely shut down the use of this honey for the time being. It might also pick up a kill onto the Wolverine in the future, since there is another Pack 40 ready and waiting to take that on. Marder does get shot on the bottom side of the town here. It looks like it came down to help out, but the Panzer 35, that's still doing work. This Pack 40 is now a 1-star or 1 health AT gun. It only gets worse from here. However, the Churchill 5 not going to allow that to happen. On this top side, bombing strike came in again. Did pin down the 6-pounder and the Recce squad, forced back the honey and the MMG carrier. But 2 AT guns here could definitely be enough to stop any push that Fussel tries to make. We're still on a +1 for Fussel though, and here goes the second Pack 40 as it engages the Wolverine that has been forced to fall back. And there it goes. Wolverine is dead on the bottom side. Honey is going to be trying to move up to assist, but that is going to be toast in the face of a Pack 40 as well. And these Panzer 35s can get aggressive. The trouble with the Honey, due to its low veterancy and also its relatively low AP, it can't penetrate a Panzer 35 with 5 front armor very easily. And that's just causing a lot of issues at the moment. This Panzer 35 alone has helped deal with all of this infantry throughout the game so far. So another big push coming into the town here, followed up by the Churchill OP with the 140mm off map. There's a lot of potential here for a good play, but the off map really has to hit the mark, and if it does, then these rifles can quite simply go in there and clean things up. And it looks like so far so good. The Feldgendarmerie have been killed, which is fantastic, but ROA did manage to clean up one of the rifle squads before they unloaded, and that is, in my opinion, quite a big mistake, because having that extra 10 men there could have been the difference between breaking through these ROA squads and the Veterans. Whereas now, it seems like the ROA will just be too much for the limited forces that are actually attacking. There are 2 that have unloaded short, and once again, allocation of rifles I don't feel has been a strong point for Dnestr throughout this game. Stug 3 is going to be engaging the honey on the top side. It looks like a push did come in here from Fussel's units. Never mind, they all came down to the town. I was going to say, where did the B2, the Pack, and the Panzerjäger 35 go? But it seems they just got out of dodge when they saw the 2 6-pounders ready and waiting. And the 35 though, going to take out the Humber Mark III. This infantry is surely eventually going to go down, and well, with the honey now taken care of, a huge salient on the bottom side for Fussel, putting up such a strong fight in this very attritional battle. Churchill 5 doesn't have any HE left. Look at that. All 47 rounds are used. I think it may have received an ammo storage hit at some point possibly, but there is a very good chance that has just been firing since the beginning of the game and therefore lost ammunition that way. But with the Panzerjäger getting close to this town, it did take a shot at the Churchill 5 there. Unfortunate not to get a hit. Well, saying that, Panzerjäger not really the best veterancy, but it's going to be a surrender from Dnestr after 20 minutes exactly. Wow. I believe Fussel at that moment in time was quite far ahead. Yeah, just over 1,000 points. Maybe Dnestr just felt like it wasn't worth continuing the fight. But then again, Churchill 7s maybe could have made quite a big difference in this game, especially moving into Phase B. However, moving into Phase C, Panthers are a thing. And therefore, any armor that the Churchill, or any armor that the 15th, bring in will be countered by a Panther. The reason I said 17 was because I was thinking of 17-pounders, however, that could possibly swing things the other way. So maybe there was some chance of a comeback for Dnestr if that game continued. But either way, Fussel is going to take the first game, and with a solid kill death of 1,360 kills to 955 losses. If we look at the kills, I don't think there were many kills in the early game for Dnestr, it didn't seem like a lot of his units paid off. Like the first significant kill we saw was the 6-pounder taking on the Puma. And then after that, it was just sort of a lot of limited engagements. Then the Panzer came in. This was like late phase A, got killed by a 6-pounder. Churchill 5s then started doing damage. The one on the top side barely did a thing. Spitfire did shoot down a Ju-188 in the end, but either way, the kills really coming out on Fussel's side. Early on, this Pak 40 was doing a lot of damage to infantry with its HE rounds, killed the command carrier, which definitely gave his Bewährungs a lot of respite when pushing into the town. Panzerschreck managed to kill 2 rifle squads, which is quite interesting. Puma was very helpful, but didn't get any significant kills. It really allowed the Bewährungs of Fussel to make as much ground as they did because the rifles and the universal carrier were dealt with. So it may look like that Puma didn't pay itself off, but in terms of the territory it gained, it kind of did. Landerschutzen taking on 2 Bren Group and a rifle leader there. Not any more significant kills other than that IG-18 that accompanied on the bottom side, and the Pak 40 that came in later on did clean up the Honey and Wolverine, which definitely skewed that bottom side in favour of Fussel. These ROA squads were microed very well, and they weren't really over-invested upon. He had just enough to get the job done, whereas I felt like it was the opposite on the side of Dnestr, where he brought in too many and then didn't use them very well. And the Stug 3 coming in at the end there took out the 2 6-pounders. Interesting stuff. Either way, that's it. That is game 1 of the semi-final between Dnestr and Fussel. And Fussel goes 1-0 up. So congratulations to him. We'll be moving on to the second game. But that's all for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.